Hey guys, hope you are doing amazing. TJ Atkinson in the building, your finance coach. So today we're going to talk about how to read at least a book a week. Hey guys, I hope you get some value from this video. Make sure you punch that subscribe button in the face. Make sure you leave a small comment so I know that these videos are really helping you. But by the way guys, make sure you like and subscribe because it really helps to put this video in front of more people that are trying to level up financially. Now, many of you have probably come across the idea or the concept before, and many of you are thinking, what the heck? I can't even read one book per year, so how the heck am I going to read one book per week? So look, before we get into this, I really want to address something, and I think it's important that every single person understand this. If you want to level up financially, there are three things that you can do. Number one, get a mentor. Number two, educate yourself. And number three, read more books. So what you want to do is start finding a way to acquire more knowledge. And what I love the most about books, it's my opportunity to really dig deep into the minds of some of the most successful people, to dig deep into the minds of some of my idols, some of my role models, and they become my informal mentors. So these are people that I look up to. Now think about it. For example, Steve Jobs. I admire Steve Jobs, but unfortunately, because he's passed away, I can't get on the phone and say, hey, Steve, how are you, buddy? Can I just find out X, Y, and Z so I can use this information to grow my business? So what Steve has done, he's written books. His ideas, his concept, his principles are all there for people like you and I who look up to people like Steve Jobs to be able to take that information, break down that information, and utilize that information. Books are informal mentors. And more important, if you can't afford to pay for a mentor, then read their books. Because most of the time, most of their information are in their books. And it's often rather cheaper. Let's talk about how to read more books, how to acquire more knowledge, how to build your mentorship bank, and how to level up by reading more books, more specifically a book per week. So here are some of the tips and tricks that I utilize that allow me to read a book a week. Number one. Now, your mum or your dad or your English school teacher is not going to be happy with this. There is this notion that when you're reading a book, you have to read every single word, and that is a big fallacy. The point is this: what you want to do is to skim read. Now, I'm an author myself. I've written 4 or 5 books. No plug, it's all available on Amazon. As a best-selling author, I don't expect you to read every single word in my book. And I'll tell you why. When you're writing a book, my concepts, my ideas could be spelt out or could be written in about 10 pages. But in order to give the most value for money, the book has to be padded up. So therefore, you're going to see ums and ahs and buts and ifs and maybes and exclamation marks and punctuations, all to buffer up the book to give you more value or the impression of more value. But in essence, what we're trying to do is get to the crux of what the author is trying to teach you or educate you on. The big mistake many people do is, and I used to do this, is read line by line. The problem is when you're reading line by line, it's taking longer and longer. You're losing concentration because you're only able to concentrate for a small period of time. In many cases, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. So you're reading, and the author said, I should. No, what you want to do is skim. And what you're now trying to do is find concepts, ideas, and principles that jump out at you, and you grasp those ones, maybe highlight those ones, make a note of those ones, and go back and study those ideas and concepts. Most people don't get through a book a year because they're trying to read the entire book. And the truth is this: authors don't expect you to read the entire book. No author on this earth is going to get angry if you skim read to pick up the ideas and concepts. So that's the one thing that you want to do. Skim read the book, looking for, tracing through to find ideas, concepts, and principles that we as authors are trying to give you. Think about it as a big, massive puzzle. I've written 10,000 words, and in those 10,000 words, there are only 2,000 words that I need you to grasp. So your job is to play a game of life, which is to skim through and look for those 2,000 words out of the 10,000 words that actually mean something and will take you to the next level. Number 2, super glances. So super glances are what I call heightened peripherals. So it means when you are reading a book, forget about trying to read line by line, going back to number 1. What you are looking for are what we call super glances, which means you are reading the book, you're looking down at the book, or you've got the book in front of you, and you are chunking. So chunking means you are reading with a wider peripheral because, again, you are looking for ideas and concepts. You are not reading to comprehend the paragraph or the sentence. You are chunking, which means you are looking for ideas and concepts, but through wider peripherals. So if I had a book in front of me, what I would be doing is I would be reading paragraph by paragraph as opposed to reading word for word. And paragraph by paragraph means you are looking for things that jump out at you. And in many cases, so what I do is I look for words, I look for things, I look for ideas that I'm not familiar with, and then that takes me back to that paragraph. This is how you read more books. Now, many people think when you're reading, and this is what we were taught in school, and well done to Mrs. Henderson. I think that was my English teacher. No, it wasn't. She was just a pretty teacher that I fancied. Okay, so well done to I can't remember who my English teacher was. Well done to them for teaching me how to read. And they taught you how to read for comprehension. And that's great if you're reading for an exam. But once you're reading to acquire new knowledge, it's completely different. So if you want to read more books, what you want to do is chunking, which is what we call super glances. This is actually very crucial. Most of the time when we buy a book, there's an affinity towards the author. You've bought a book because there's a level of interest in the author or the concept the author is writing about. What you want to do is find those concepts. So let's reverse engineer this. When you buy a book, you already have an inkling of what the book is about, which means you already know a little bit about the author. You know that you are reading a book about happiness. You know you're reading a book about finance. You know you're reading a book about property investing. So what you want to do is, number one, read the back of the book first. That's the first thing that I do. Read the back of the book to grasp the idea of what the author is trying to teach you. You flip to the back of the book and you look at the concepts. The main ideas are on the back of the book. And then you go back to the book and you're looking for those main ideas in the back of the book. You're looking for those in the book. As opposed to reading the entire book for understanding or comprehension when the entire summary is right there at the back of the book. So you start at the back and you go back to the beginning and you're looking for the information at the back throughout the entire book. Number two, we go to the content page. And what you want to do in the content page is look for the ideas. Remember, you bought this book for a specific reason. You didn't just find a book on the floor. You didn't just go on Amazon and randomly pay $7.99 or $15.99 for a book that you had no interest in. So remember, when you're buying a book, I'm sure you already have an idea of what you want to learn. So you go to the content page and you look for the ideas or the notions or the principles in which you bought the book for. And that's where you start. Authors, yes, we would love for you to read every single word and we would love for you to go in this specific order in which we wrote the book. But the truth is this, in order to get what you need out of the book, you want to find it. So for example, in many of my books, the table of content, the content page is laid out in a very simple format so you can find the specific ideas, because there are going to be things you already know. There are going to be ideas you already know. There are going to be words that are just regurgitated to fluff up the book and to make the book sound grander. There are going to be stories about the author's life. Hey, it's not an autobiography. If it's a self-development book, then let's get the development so we can improve ourselves. So you don't need to read about my life story of how I magically became rich through property. What you want to know is what are the ideas and the concepts. So you've got to be intentional about this. Something that's very important is discipline. If you want to go through as many books as possible. Now, there are some people out there that read books for the sake of reading books so they can come on Instagram and say, hey guys, I've just read a book. But they're still dumb and they still don't improve their lives and they still haven't developed or they haven't improved themselves. I don't want you to be like that. I want you to be somebody that gets the ideas and applies the ideas. So now a few things you want to do is you want to discipline yourself to set time frames in which you're going to sit down and read or listen to a book. That's part of the discipline, and that's part of the self-development, is setting a specific time. Now, I know it's difficult to set a specific time every single day. So if you, I don't do that myself. I wouldn't say I sit down and I set my alarm to read at 5 p.m. every single day, because my schedule is all over the place. But I set 15 to 30 minutes per day to read. What that means to you is you want to find a specific time. Now, you can start with 5 minutes until you build up that discipline to the place that you say, do you know what? I'm learning so much. I'm improving my life. Let's go. So set 5 minutes to 30 minutes per day. So if it means you're walking to the shop, grab your book, grab your audiobook, grab your Kindle, and do your 5 minutes. And you're going to see how your vocab increases, how your memory increases, how your confidence increases, how your business starts to change, how your work life starts to change. But that's because you are going through a transition from not being a reader to a reader, which means acquiring knowledge. So remember what I said earlier on about you only know what you know. Now imagine this, by reading more, you know what you know, but now you know what other people who are more enlightened or more successful than you know. So set yourself a time period, a duration, whether it's before you go to bed, whether it's while you just lock yourself in the toilet and you read a book. One thing that I used to do before in order to force myself to read was I would leave my book in the toilet. And I would have to use the toilet at least once or twice a day. So it means I would catch my 5 minutes at least. When I was doing 5 minutes, I would catch my 5 minutes at least while I'm in the toilet. Now, hey, depends on your hygiene, okay? And make sure you clean up properly. But the point is this, discipline. Discipline. Now, if you want to go through multiple books over the span of a year, you've got to do something. You need to be reading multiple books at the same time. If you want to acquire knowledge, if you want to improve your ability, your vocab, your memory, your understanding, increase your chances of success, you need to be reading multiple books at the same time. Now remember, you're not reading for comprehension. You're not reading to understand line by line and word for word. What you're reading is the concepts. Now any book that you buy, we can go with the assumption that there's a level of interest. You were interested in that book. If you're reading a book about property investment, then it makes sense to be reading 3 or 4 books at the same time about property investment. And it's really simple. If you dedicate 5 minutes per day per book, which means it's 20 minutes. Now, I don't care how busy you say you are, and I'm a very, very busy person, but I still manage to do 15 to 30 minutes per day, every single day, of acquiring knowledge and getting through at least a book a week. So you can. I don't care how busy you are, because every single person has 24 hours, and every single person has to have a toilet break at least. So stick your book, leave your book in the toilet. So when you sit down on that toilet, guess what? You pick up your book, you read your 5 minutes, you clean up yourself, and Bob's your uncle, but you've acquired more knowledge. Have an idea of what you want to learn from the book first. Once you buy the book, or before you buy the book, have an idea of what you want to learn. You don't want to learn about my backstory. You don't want to hear about the fight I had with my best friend and it gave me that eureka moment. What you want to know is the eureka moment. So you've got to be intentional about stripping out the rubbish, stripping out the crap, stripping out the fluff, and going straight to finding that idea, that concept. Now, what you want to do is this, is once you strip out an idea, a concept, a principle, you want to either highlight it or make a note of it in your phone. And then you want to do further research on those ideas. So by the end of the week, you now have more homework to do. Many people make a mistake because there are many people who go through books, but they go through books and the concept doesn't stay because you haven't studied it. So what you want to do is get through the book as quick as possible, pulling out the ideas, and then studying those ideas and doubling down on those ideas. That's how they become a part of you. Hey guys, I hope you get some value from this video. Make sure you punch that subscribe button in the face. Make sure you leave a small comment so I know that these videos are really helping you. But by the way guys, make sure you like and subscribe because it really helps to put this video in front of more people that are trying to level up financially. I'll catch you soon.